Welcome to the Simply Be Found Huddle, where we talk about business and marketing. You got Dean and Robert, the co-founders of Simply Be Found, and we have guest Matt with us today. And judging by our little, green room warm up from this, since we keep everything raw and unedited, but it's one of those things to where I think this is going to be a good conversation. Matt, can you tell everybody kind of about yourself and what you're about?
Oh, hell yeah. I'm really excited for this, by the way. Just getting to chat with you guys, for the couple minutes before this. I'm like, this is going to be really good. So my name is Matt Diamante. I run a digital marketing agency called Hey Tony. We focus primarily on helping businesses show up higher on Google, which if you're listening to this, I'm assuming you know what SEO means.
There's a lot of people inside of our podcast that have absolutely no idea. It's a lot of small businesses, but we have
Yeah.
agencies that use us. I don't think you're an agency that uses us. Am I
No,
wrong on that? I didn't check before we hopped on today.
no, we are not.
Okay. I know most of them, and I've messed that up before, and I
Yep.
figured I'd bring that up. Because, what we do is kind of a little bit, we've taken a different approach to what a lot of things do out there. So I'm not sure if you've looked at this before.
Yeah.
But what kind of SEO do you do inside of Google, and what makes you focus directly just on Google, or do you focus anywhere else?
I would say search engines, like the traditional search engines. We don't do anything on Amazon. We're not YouTube. It's like Google, Bing. And now, we're getting into LLMs, ChatGPT, all that kind of stuff. And it's really that's where small businesses are, right? They're using these platforms. I know they're using Amazon and stuff as well, but for the most part, small businesses are, they can make a lot of money just showing up higher on Google, right? Showing up on the top 3 in the map pack, showing up organically. And my mission is to help as many small businesses grow their business via Google or, sometimes via ads or anything else. But I truly believe that you can change the world by helping small businesses grow. Puts more money back into the local economies, creates jobs. They can give to charities, they pay more taxes in their, I know we don't like taxes, but puts more taxes into their local economy, which goes to infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. So my mission is kind of like, let's change the world for the better, one small business at a time.
So Rob and I, we really believe that the small business is really the backbone of the economy, if you will.
Yeah.
Do you find that they're a little bit? I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but
they're squirrely as hell.
Dirty cat. They're like all over the place. This everybody has. The reason why a lot of small business exists because there's a mental thing that goes on in their heads. They're a little bit narcissistic. They're independent. They know everything. Do you find, how do you communicate with them? Because it gets really hard sometimes with all the different diversities and backgrounds that come into a small business. What's your approach on that?
My approach is that I am a small business owner, so I am all of those things.
We are too.
I just ordered a stack of books that I listen to the audiobooks. If anybody's watching this, you can see all these books here, but it's all small business stuff. I'm trying to figure it out as much as the next guy. But it's really just being able to relate to these people and be like, listen, I do this for my own business. I do this for a lot of other businesses. That's you can trust us to, get you more results, get you more traffic, all this kind of stuff. But even with that, I was talking with a buddy of mine, Jake from the Wizard Marketing. Are you guys familiar with Jake?
I've heard of Jake, but I'm not sure if I've ever crossed paths with him before.
He's big on TikTok. And actually, I met him at Gary V's conference last summer, VCon, in person.
Okay.
We had chatted online and stuff like that, but got to meet him in person, hang out for a couple days, meet some people, have some drinks, have some conversations. Really great. But I had a conversation with him yesterday. He's like, "Hey man, thanks for the client." And I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I'm like, "Did I send somebody your way?" Because I do that. I get a lot of inquiries and stuff like that. So sometimes we can't help people. He's like, "No, it's actually somebody who lives in your area and they own this guy. I won't say the type of business, but let's just say they're a plumber. They're a plumber in your area, and they said they had a conversation with you, and you never responded to them. So they ended up finding me on TikTok and, hiring me." And I was like, "Who is what person?" So he tells me the name. I look it up in my email. I'm like, "Oh, the guy that never got back to me after I sent him the contract and followed up 6 times." Right? Like a year and a half ago. What the fuck? I don't know. Can we swear on this? Because I just
you
did.
can swear.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
You'll get some back too. So hang on.
I mean, that always blows my mind when that happens, Matt. I mean, we had somebody this morning, a member of ours, and I don't want to throw them underneath the bus either, but they're like, hey, where's our profile review? So what we have is we have a system that goes out to all of the networks. Basically, it's almost like what Yext does and what SEM Rush does, but we ended up developing our own because I told them basically to go F off.
Hell yeah.
But it was one of those things to where he goes, hey, have you done a profile review? I'm like, man, I could have swore we did his. I go back and I look. I said, not only we did it, we've sent it to you now. This is the third time we've sent it to you. Like,
check your fucking email.
I can provide it overall I want, but if you don't do anything with the information, it's not going to help you.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's just the I have a couple other businesses besides this one. And that happens, you start on something, and you get pulled off, and you forget about it, and you think the other person dropped the ball.
Yeah,
but when
but
it's really
guys, here's
the
secret: every email inbox has a search functionality. All you have to do is type in what you're looking for, and it'll come up.
Well, here we'll even take it to the next step. We'll even take it to the next step on that one for our system. If you log into the dashboard, it automatically loads your last chat in the bottom.
It's wild.
But I mean, it's one of those things to where, I mean, that's what's the difference between a small business working with a small business as well. Because I'll come back and say, I've sent this the third time I've sent this over to you, but I'll send it again.
Yeah,
and that is the difference between dealing with a small business having to deal with a large corporation. You're not going to get that from large corporations at all.
I mean, so this is an example of something that only a small business could do. Over the weekend, I had a sale. I have like a whole community and course. I'm calling it the last SEO program you'll ever need because it teaches you everything you need to know. And I even developed a couple tools myself that you get access to as part of this. But I'm not here to plug that, but I'm here to tell you about the email subject line that I did. So I sent this off to like 30,000 people over the weekend. And the subject line was, I like to poo and pee. That was the subject line of the email. And I'm like, and in the email, like, it's like, hey, whatever, first name. No, I didn't get hacked. I just want to make sure that you saw this email because the sale ends today. Right. So, and I got a lot of, people saying like, this is genius. And then a lot of people saying like, how childish, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I can do that. I can do these tests because nobody else is going to do that. People take themselves way too seriously. And, as a small business, like, yeah, let's do shit like that or tell people to fuck off or what. Not that I'm telling people to fuck off, but you know what I mean? It's like, take a hike. Like, I got other people that want to work with me. Like, I don't need that.
Well, it's really interesting that you say that because I know that Rob sometimes he gets the people and they're wanting this and wanting that, we're wanting this, and Rob just finally says, if you don't want to help yourself, we're not a good match. So you need to go find somebody else and at least sign up. It's like, what the heck? What was the brain trigger that made that happen?
So we have an ongoing joke. There's times that people have called me up and they've been absolutely, and you can only a small business can ever pull this one off. They'll be absolutely pissed off.
Yeah. And
I'll say my side, they'll say their side. Both it starts this this whole entire heated conversation. And I would say probably 98%, Dean, correct me if I'm wrong on that, of these heated conversations I've ever had with a member, they end up upgrading.
Yeah.
That's like, wow, I got the attention that I wanted. I'm going to pay for this.
Negative attention is better than no attention, and they're giving me attention, so I'm gonna upgrade. So okay.
Yeah.
You're real. You really got to know what you're doing. I'm like, well, I've been doing this for 30 years. I think I might know a couple things.
Yeah, and I have a low tolerance for bullshit. Fuck.
But you talk about the poo and pee thing. I stole it from another small business owner way back in the 90s, and he used to sign his thing head janitor, and he was the CEO. And so I started signing my salutation head janitor, and everybody goes, "That's not very professional." I said, well, that's what I do. I clean up everybody's crap.
Yeah.
And fix all, it fixes
clean up shit all day.
So
I love that.
And so it's funny how people have different perceptions about small businesses and what's professional and not professional. But if you can't joke about yourself, you're never going to make it.
No, I just I've worked in like professional settings, like big agencies and stuff like that. And I have friends who do as well. And like I don't like the way that people communicate. Like everything has to be, periods, no exclamation marks, no emojis, just like very like corporate, professional, all this stuff. And I'm like, I use a ton of exclamation marks, right? I say weird shit. Yeah, I'll say laugh my ass off in an email to a client. Like, so sorry that happened. Laugh my ass off. We'll try not to do that again. Right. And it's just like, why do you need like, and I know, and just in general, people typically have different versions of themselves, whether you're with friends or family or different groups of friends or, your work and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, at what point do you have to pretend to be an extra person? Right. As a small business owner, you get to be you, man.
You do. You get to be you. And here's the good news, and what I learned from back when I had one of my agencies bought out by a VC corporation, so venture capital group, and the biggest phrase I ever learned from that whole thing for being able to sum all that up is you just tell people, I eat, my family and I eat regardless, so it doesn't really matter if you do business with me or not. This is what you get. And
100%.
I mean, you know if you're on my good side, you know if you're on my bad side, and if I'm super busy because I'm going to be going about 500 miles an hour because my ADHD is going to kick into full gear.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean,
if you don't like it, then we're probably not a good fit.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, speaking of ADHD, I have like 30 tabs open right now, and I have a whole I went through my email inbox yesterday after not going through it for like 3 or 4 days because I was doing other shit, and I was like, cool, 160 emails. I got to answer all these emails, right? And if you're in like a corporate setting, it's like, okay, like, hey, so and so, and then hope you had a great weekend, blah blah blah, and then you get to what you're trying to say, and I just like, if I'm responding to 160, 150 emails, I'm just like, here's the information that you're looking for. Link. No cheers, no bye, no anything, no hello. It's like, here you go. Like, what do you want?
Meat and potatoes.
Yeah. And like, that's what people are looking for. It's like, let's cut all the bullshit, right?
Yeah.
It is. And I think that's an absolute huge difference between corporations and big or small businesses, and even side of medium-sized businesses. I mean, granted, you have to have some stamina of being professional to a point. You don't want to be rude. You don't want to be that person. But people don't have time to read a 50-page email.
No, and
no one wants to know a story.
I want to be clear. I'm not saying that running your own business gives you the agency to be a fucking asshole. Right. That's not what I'm saying at all. Like you can be crude in terms of like the words you use and stuff like that, but you should always be, looking out for the person. But I will say if somebody is being a pain in the ass, you could just, hey, you know what? It's not working out. And that's one of my favorite things to do is firing a client who's being a pain in the ass.
Yep.
Right.
That's a good point right there. That as a small business owner, you can fire customers.
Oh, I posted about that on social media, and somebody was like, "You can't fire a client," and I'm like, "What do you mean you can't? Like, you can call it something else, but you can't call it firing." And I'm like, "No, that's what it is. Like, we're not working with you anymore. You're gone. Like, what else do you call it? Right?
We're not a good fit. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, heck, I've been told that in the middle of podcasts before because I was talking about topics they thought would get them in trouble.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's one of those things to where they get so hung up on that. We were talking about that before we came on, but I mean, anybody can ask anybody to leave. Anybody can, have their opinion and everything there. As far as SEO, have you seen what Neil Patel said the other day for how much traffic Google's getting?
No. What did he say?
He said that it's only counting for 18.5% of the traffic.
The total internet traffic. And that's like, is that including like Instagram and TikTok and all these mobile apps?
Yep. Crazy. So 18.5% of searches happen on Google now. They were 65% at the beginning of the year.
That's wild. Where's the other stuff going? LLMs?
So a lot of it's going to be inside of your AIs. I've been saying this for a while. I haven't been able to put a number to it. I thought it was kind of interesting. But when I'm looking at the thousands of different reports that we get to see on how people are being found, voice search is up there on the list. I'm sure in the mix. You can't get a report directly inside of voice search, but that's changed how people are looking. AIs have definitely changed it for your ChatGPTs. More people are having conversations which now with the new Alexa getting ready to come out, that's even going to put another big change on it because it's going to be very communicative back and forth.
Right.
You're also seeing a lot of other changes to where Google has really made a lot of people angry, I think, with the whole overview tab. Because for one, if the website traffic has dropped. Have you noticed that?
I haven't noticed like any of our clients, like, we have about, let's say 50 clients at this point. Like nothing has dropped as a
So I
result
was
of
running
that.
numbers before I finished my day yesterday. So we've seen a drop in website traffic for local. Obviously, I forgot to mute that.
Come on, man.
Yeah, so
simple shit.
They'll be on the podcast if we don't.
That will be, but
I love that.
it's one of those things to where now I have to remember where the hell I was going. So I was looking to see the stats. We've seen a decrease on especially service area businesses, but about 3.8% reduction in how many actual website visits they were receiving. Now, I haven't had any complaints of people not getting another lead, so they're finding them other spots. But I'm seeing that kind of change. And when I track stats, I'm tracking it across thousands of sites.
Yeah.
Not just so my pool's a lot bigger. Now, some never saw a change whatsoever. And it kind of really depends on which part of the world you're in as well, especially even the United States when you look at the map. That'd be kind of an interesting thing. I might hand that over to our data science team to look at. Because I'd be curious if other certain areas are adapting other search behaviors.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought it was a very interesting stat for 18.5%.
Well, I was reading a stat. It was some point late last year. Or maybe it was early this year. It said something that more conservative states click on ads or have more trust for search ads. And I was like, that's very interesting. And people, they're in the comments talking about politics. And I'm like, guys, that's not what I'm saying. I don't give a shit if you're left, right, center, fucking on the moon, right? That is a marketing stat that if you live in a more conservative area, you're probably going to make more money or get a better return if you're running search ads than if you're in like not conservative area.
That's been a big study. So I mean, when you're talking about the whole entire pay-per-click ads, especially Facebook ads, there's a whole demographics plays a huge part in that.
Yeah,
and I think that's getting less. I don't think paid ads I think they're getting more expensive and they're costing a lot more.
It's like 20% increase year over year, right?
I saw so they're predicting that this year is going to be like almost 35% more.
So
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't really promote ads. We don't say don't do ads, but we really don't promote them. But you're seeing a 20% increase in ad costs. Are you seeing a 20% increase in growth with it? We're seeing just the opposite of that. It's going down.
It costs you more money. Like the thing is, you need to be, there's all like Facebook or Meta, whatever, all these platforms are like, and even Google, here's ad recommendations to make your ads pop more, to get more clicks, all this shit. None of that stuff works.
No.
And I have to continuously talk about that and tell people like, don't apply all recommendations. It will mess your stuff up. And like, I've had some clients do it and they're like, why aren't I seeing it? I'm like, well, what did you do? And they're like, well, I clicked, the recommendations, like I got the score up to close to 100%, like whatever. And I'm like, don't do that. Just don't fuck around with anything. But as small business owners, we don't know. Right. And like, we're marketers. We understand, we know how to market our marketing business. Right. But a lot of people, you're a plumber, you're like, cool. I know about Google. I know about, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, Instagram. But I don't know what to do on those platforms. I don't know how much to post. I don't know what to post. I don't know how to write a blog post. Do I even write blog posts? Is that dead? Does that still contribute to your overall growth and traffic and all this kind of stuff? And it's really like, I feel for them. Like, I think that's where I resonate the most with small business owners is like, fuck, man, like you went to school, you did your apprenticeship, you did all this kind of stuff to be a professional plumber, electrician, whatever. And now you're running your business and you have to become a marketer. You have to become an accountant. You have to become, all these other, like a bookkeeper, like all these other things. And you're like, shit, dang, right. I thought like I was trying to escape the grind of, working 9 to 5. And now I'm working 9 to 9 or 9 to 12.
I ran into a guy that we were talking about this, I think on another podcast, but I ran into a guy, he goes, well, I started a business because I don't want to work so hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? Eventually, we all get
You
there.
might get
Not
there.
we all, but some people get there, right?
Yeah.
You see, I get there and then I either sell the business or I go start another one on top of that one because
Yeah,
I just like beating the
You're
shit
like,
out
I
of
got
this stuff.
time. I'm gonna do something
we
else.
can't help it. We just start new things, and that's how we are where we're at now. So, hey, Matt, I want to ask you a question. You
Yeah.
mentioned LLMs, and I'm a big, can you define what an LLM is and what's the search, in your opinion?
Define
Where things are
large
going with
language
that?
model. Is that what
Yeah,
you want?
the learning
You want me to
language
say
model.
that?
Yeah, I'm all about the marketing people love their acronyms, and
Yeah.
but I do it too. When I first started this with Rob, I go, "What the hell are you talking about?" Well, now I'm starting to use the acronyms. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. And so whenever somebody throws out an acronym, I like to hear your approach and what your thoughts are
Yeah.
on where that's going.
So when I say LLM, it stands for large language model, but it's like think ChatGPT, Claude, anything like that, AI that you're talking to. Where do I think it's going? It's really hard to say because it's it's kind of like in everything now, even on iPhone, right? Siri is integrated, or even the iPhone's integrated with ChatGPT or OpenAI, whatever.
Right.
And
ChatGPT.
I'm like, I haven't seen any difference on my phone, right? And I'm on my phone all day, every day. I'm a marketer. I'm using, all these social media networks. I'm using it for productivity, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, give me the iPhone 14, iPhone 30. It's going to be the same shit to me. But in terms of how people are using it, I like I use it every single day. I use ChatGPT to either refine what I want to say, or if I'm telling somebody to fuck off, how do I say this in a nice way?
Yep.
Not that I do that every single day, but um, in terms of small business, yes, more people are adopting AI, ChatGPT, whatever you want to call it. I still do think though that Google is the biggest search engine in the world at this point. And they've done a lot of work. Like, you don't say go Bing that or go Yahoo that. You're like, go Google that, right? They become a verb. And uh, it might die out with a generation. Like, that could be very possible. But I'm like, right now, there's people are still going to Google, right? Like, especially people in 40 plus who aren't technical at all, like they're going to Google and they're making those searches. um when it comes to the younger generations, yes, we're all using AI, we're all doing this kind of stuff, but if you're looking for a restaurant near you, what are you doing? Right, you're probably going to go to Google, look at the reviews, all this kind of stuff. I have used ChatGPT to try to be like, okay, where are the best restaurants near me, or where are the best, or who are the best plumbers or electricians, whatever. I just moved into a new house, so I'm looking for all these services all the time, which is why I keep referencing them. But I'm like, these results don't seem to be that great, right? Like, and I know, that is what we do. We kind of quote unquote game Google, so that we can get our clients or our businesses to the top, or as high as possible. So I know that those businesses aren't necessarily the best businesses, but that's all due diligence, right? Like, is AI going to make people lazier than even Google did? Absolutely. Um, are people going to find exactly what they're looking for? Not without additional research, right? I think it all comes down to, if you're looking for information, like you need to fact check. And AI is going to make it a lot easier to not have to fact check, because like, here's a bunch of reasons. You could go in there and say, write me an article about, getting to the moon, very in depth, whatever it is, and you'll read that and be like, wow, this is really, really great. But is it accurate? Where are they pulling that information from? They're pulling it from other websites, right?
So
So
everything's connected.
everything's connected. If you want to show up in ChatGPT, when people are doing searches for local businesses, like, you need to be doing your SEO still, right? And it's not like SEO, yeah, search engine optimization, primarily, or traditionally, I would say you're talking about search engines like Google, Bing, Yahoo, stuff like that. But now it's like, I forget who coined the term, but like search everywhere optimization, right? How can you get found on all these different platforms, whether it's ChatGPT or Instagram or TikTok or Google or whatever it might be? Like, how can you make sure that you're being found on those platforms, right? And that's the next big struggle for small businesses, is like, how can I be everywhere, right?
Yes.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. You did.
You kind of went around it and did a couple things and went more detailed.
So,
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, no, I mean, I agree with you on that. I think everybody's trying to figure out how to be able to get everywhere. And I think we see a lot of numbers. So we figured out, we haven't updated our website completely yet because it hasn't officially 100% released.
Yeah.
Even though most of it's rolled out, we work with over 1,000 different networks with Simply Be Found.
Yeah.
So in total, because you have this network feeds off of this network and it just that whole web that's out there. Compared to like Yext or Bright Local where they charge for everyone, we go out everywhere. So our listings engine is constantly working to be able to try to get you on as many spots as you can.
Amazing.
And make it to where you just have to fill out that one form to then go out to those networks. But on top of that, you have to make sure your website is done right. You have to make sure your schema's in there and that you're doing blog posts. Now, a lot of business owners don't understand blog posts at all. They think about it as this big, complicated thing, and it's not. It's just a page.
Oh my God. Have you guys read the book They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan?
No, I haven't heard that.
No, never heard of that one.
So pick it up today. It's an SEO book without talking about SEO. It's so smart. I actually had a chance to interview him. Somebody thought I had a podcast because I did like an Instagram live and I uploaded it to YouTube, and they were like, "Hey, like I'd love to be on your podcast. I saw that you had, that author there." And I'm like, that was actually just a conversation that we had on Instagram live. But it's a really fantastic book. Somebody recommended it to me a couple of years ago and I read it and I was like, man, this is like the most plain English, not how to do SEO, but like SEO book without mentioning any technical anything. And it's literally the title of the book like sums up the book. People are asking for like they're asking questions. You have an answer.
Well, I mean, that's why they came up with the whole entire piece of the new replacement to SEO, which is the AEO, which is no different than what we've been doing for FAQs and schema for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and everything kind of goes off. So I don't know when you started doing SEO or when you started doing website design. What year was it?
It was 2012.
2012. Okay. So I go all the way back to 1995. So
very different game.
So when I started off, when I started off in 1995, you put the information out, you put it inside your meta keywords to where, here's your keyword. You can keyword dump. There's a lot of business owners that still try to be able to do that today.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work because it has to have the natural language to make it work because things have gotten smarter. Yeah. Now, where Google shot themselves in the foot is they've tried to push everybody this one direction and thought they were the biggest house in the game. And they had stuff come against them to be able to make everything kind of harder. They had Microsoft do its whole piece to where it makes it harder to put Google Chrome inside of a computer.
Yeah.
And I agree with your comment earlier. They've become a verb for the, I Googled this, but it's no different than people say, I Googled it, even though they found you on YouTube. They'll say, I Googled it if they found you on Bing. They'll say they Googled it if they did. It's a term of search.
Yeah.
And so what I've noticed a big shift in when I was looking at stats is Microsoft made it harder to put Chrome on. So more people were using Bing because they wanted to push more ad revenue and people using their software because everything is a control piece for why marketers do what we do, and we ruin anything and everything good out there. We'll overuse the shit out of it and we'll ruin it. That's just the nature of it. But people will say that. So Google really kind of just let that be, and they didn't move forward to be able to make that change. People want to see real things. They've overpopulated what needs to be there, but they almost weren't. ABC or the Alphabet company, which owns Google, they almost went out of business. Yahoo had a chance to buy them, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was back in like what 2000 or
I think 99 or 2000, right? As
when
we started the .com crash.
Yeah. So, but no, so along the lines of the website piece and how it's changed. One of the things I saw, Matt, is you try to drive 250,000 people a day to your website. Is that what I read? Did I hear you say that?
No.
Did I read that? You try to drive
that's crazy. That'd be so much traffic.
Dean was telling me that before we hopped on the call. I'm like, I didn't listen to his whole thing in Pod Match, and I was like,
I think I'm dreaming it, but So one of the biggest complaints that we get from everybody is nobody's going to my website.
Yeah.
I mean, so how do you drive? In your opinion, how do you drive people to the website?
So right now, my website's probably getting like 15,000 visitors a month, which isn't, it's not a Neil Patel level, millions of people a month. But I'm not trying to compete with that, right? My goal, and I only started doing my own SEO. It's like the shoemakers, kids, whatever. They don't have their own shoes, whatever.
I know nothing about that. I didn't look at our blog the other day and go, what the? Why is nothing happening over here?
Yeah. So like my website used to be one page until I think it was like 2020 or 2021 or something like that. And I was like, you know what? I talked to a friend who was working at an agency and I'm like, how are they getting all their leads? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And he's like, dude, you're going to shit yourself when I tell you this. I'm like, what? He's like, SEO. That's how they're getting all their leads. And I'm like, man, the thing that I've been like helping clients do for so long, I haven't been doing for myself. I'm like, what an idiot. Like, I need to start doing this. So I started
We've
doing
all
that.
done it.
I know. I started doing
I've
it a
done
couple
it a few
years
times.
ago. And my yeah, right. My goal with doing my own SEO, like I wasn't trying to rank countrywide or even like in adjacent cities. I was like, I at the time lived in a city of 500,000 people. And I'm like, there are 15,000 small businesses here. That's more work than I could do in an entire lifetime. Like, I just need to rank number one in that city. So how can I do that? I need to obviously, I need to have service pages. Like, we do SEO, we do Facebook ads, we do Google ads, we do, website design, whatever it is. Although I hate website design, we rank number one for it. I get a ton of people inquiring about that. And I'm like, sorry, we don't do that. You can go talk to this person, which is great because now I can help somebody else's business. But the way that we started ranking number one for all of that stuff is we wrote a ton of blog posts. I think we have it's not that many. I think it's like 150, maybe 200 blog posts over a couple years. And by writing those blog posts, we started, and this is what I tell clients, right? This is what I tell people on Instagram, on TikTok. We started going after easier to rank for keywords, right? The stuff that's like maybe 10 or 20 search volume a month, really easy to rank for. And we wanted to kind of build a snowball so that Google and other search engines are looking at us and being like, okay, they're doing well with the little bit of traffic that we're giving them. And we keep doing that. And then eventually that, like, quote unquote, unlocks harder keywords for us to rank for, which were the, SEO in city, right? Facebook ads in city or meta ads in city, whatever it is. And that's the strategy. It's writing blog posts, helpful content, because at the end of the day, like, yes, I could, sign up for one of these AI tools, write 100 pieces of content in an hour, upload it directly to my site from that tool. And is it going to be helpful content at the end of the day? Right? Like, you need to spend time, write a good piece of content, take screenshots, give examples, how to's, all that kind of stuff, and truly help the person, visiting your website looking for that information. And by doing so, you'll develop trust, you'll develop credibility. People will come back, people will recommend you, people will share your links. Actually, we wrote an article a couple of years ago about next gen image formats, right? We know WebP and was it AVIF, however you say that?
Yeah, I think so.
So we wrote an article about that, or a blog post, I should say. I use the terms article and blog post interchangeably, by the way. So we wrote a blog post about that, and
it's also
it got picked up. What's that?
It's also a
yeah,
post.
it's also a post. Like,
I mean, it depends on which platform you decide to log into.
It could be news.
Post.
It could be news. It could be a bunch of shit. But so we wrote that about next gen image formats, and then it randomly got picked up by some podcasts, and then that podcast show notes got referenced in a bunch of other tech publications, all this kind of stuff. So we published that one piece of content. It got us a bunch of backlinks, I think like 50 or 60 backlinks from like credible websites in our industry or related to our industry, and that helped prop up the entire site as a whole. Now, if anybody listening doesn't know what a backlink is, it's just a link from somebody else's website back to your website in plain English, right? That helps you get credibility. Like, and you guys can tell me if this analogy sucks or not, but it's like a backlink is like a vote for prom king or prom queen, right? Like, the quote unquote like nerdy kid at the school, their vote's not going to be worth as much as like the jock who everybody knows, right? I mean, the vote technically is, but that person has a lot more sway in how everybody else is voting.
I would agree on that. The big thing I would say about backlinks that I think a lot of businesses make the big mistake on is they go hire one of these guys on Fiverr or one of those other networks, and they buy all these backlinks, and they're shit backlinks. They have no value whatsoever.
Yeah.
And marketers, they love to give over these great big fancy reports, and they try to sell it off with all these links. You got to let that naturally go. I mean, you have your local SEO links. So, I mean, obviously, our listings engine is going to get you backlinks naturally, but they're from credible sources, not just bullshit that's out there.
Yeah, 100%. And I always tell people like think of a backlink this way, or the credibility this way. If I'm walking down the street with a random person and you're walking the other way and you overhear them say, wow, Matt's really good at SEO. He's the best SEO person I've ever met in my life. That's probably not going to hold a lot of weight. You're going to keep walking and be like, okay, yeah, whatever. But if I'm walking down the street with like, Ryan Reynolds or like Brad Pitt, and they're like, yo, Matt is the best SEO guy I've ever seen in my life. He gets really great results. People are going to stop and be like, oh, maybe there's some weight to that.
Correct.
Right. And those are the better backlinks.
And I think it can hurt you when you're getting all the bad backlinks. I think it can hurt you because I think there's a spam score that goes and ties into that.
Oh, I need to tell you guys.
I mean, because I've seen horror things inside of that in my time with SEO.
So I just talking about spam score. I added a link to one of my clients' websites. This is like 3 years ago now. And I was like, okay, it's like a 5-page website, no big deal. So I added it in the footer. Obviously, the client gave me permission to do that. Website built by Hey Tony, this kind of stuff, linking back to our site. And for some reason, it went right by me that they actually had like way more pages on their website because they had like a forum / like community on the website where people could chat and leave comments and stuff like that. And it never occurred to me that every comment had its own URL, meaning every URL had the same footer with my link in it. And I was on SEMrush the one day and I look and I'm like, whoa, we just got like, 400,000 backlinks. Like, that's crazy. I'm like, how do we get all these backlinks? And then I'm like, oh, they're all coming from this one site. My spam score like shot up to like 60 something %. Nobody wanted to give me backlinks, all this stuff. And I was like, man, what did I just do? I just destroyed my SEO. I took off the link. It took like 6 or 8 months or whatever for it to like get out of all the systems. And now, people are giving us links again. But man, what a scary thing. And that also goes to show that the number of backlinks don't matter. You want referring domains, like unique websites linking to you.
Correct. And now with the new systems out there for how the Google algorithm goes out, it doesn't count as necessarily a backlink, but it's a mention. So if someone says, for example, hey, Tony, Simply Be Found, and don't even put a hyperlink on it, the search engines are smart enough. They're able to connect those two together. Now, you have a mention over here.
Yeah.
There's not really any report that shows that, but they start to be able to take a credibility into that whole piece, even if it's not there. Because back in the day, you had no follow and all these different things that went in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's really waysided the way the algorithms work in today's world. I think it's a big change.
100%, especially like if you go to Google and you type in, hey, Tony, Simply Be Found, whatever, like it'll pull up that piece of information because it is mentioned in there.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those things to where it's a whole different world than where we were 5 years ago. Things have gotten smarter. But what's really interesting, and I think I'm curious if you see this as well. I see a lot of business owners that log into their Google Search Console and they're looking for a perfect score. They want everything to be absolutely nice and tidy and no errors inside of there. Have you ever had a business owner come to you and say that?
Yeah.
Have you ever had a perfect Google console?
No, I mean, like with no errors, yes, but like with them saying like, oh, you have 400 pages, marked as no index, or like Google has decided, I'm like, yeah, that happens everywhere. And I have clients, reach out and like, why do I have all these pages? And I'm like, well, first of all, you don't even have that many pages on your website. So let's go take a look at what those pages are. And a lot of them are like image links or category pages or tag pages. And I'm like, these pages don't matter anyway, so don't worry about it. Like we've got, like, this is part of our job. We go through the list, like we make sure if there's something that should be indexed, we look at why it's not indexed. Is it because it's buried on the site? Is it because it has no internal links, like no other pages are linking to it? Stuff like that.
I think there's a huge part to that. I think it's kind of interesting because Google Search Console hasn't kept up with the technology of where we are today.
Oh no, like
I don't even think SEMrush is keeping up at this point with where we are today.
I kind of love that Search Console hasn't been updated because the tutorials I made 2 years ago are still relevant and the dashboard still looks exactly the same. It's so good.
You have some great evergreen content there, Matt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely amazing when it comes to that, which I think is one of those things to where technology is moving faster than it ever. I think it's moving faster than even the .com boom when I saw that happen. Just because of how things are connecting, things are getting smarter. We're now catching our software up to the hardware that we had 5 years, 10 years ago.
Yeah,
to get to those capabilities.
And I'm currently writing a book about SEO, like for business owners, like beginners, people want to learn from scratch, all this kind of stuff. And every day, like I'm editing it now. So like I've gone through, I've written it, the 40,000, 45,000 words. And I'm like, okay, I need to make this flow. Like I have stories in here. How does that connect to this? And how is that relevant? All this kind of shit. And I'm like, every day I spend on that, I'm like, I need to put this book out now because if I wait 2 years before this book comes out, I got to write a new book.
You have to write a whole new book. So when I was doing podcasts, and the whole reason why the huddle even came out to be in there is I was going to these podcasts and they'd tell me, okay, well, we're not going to release for, I had one person tell me 6 months once.
Crazy.
And they wanted to talk about AI. And I'm like, everything I just talked about in the world of AI and what we've developed for AI.
You're going to make me sound like an idiot.
It might not even exist.
Yeah.
Oh,
true.
I'm like, your whole entire podcast is on AI. You put out one podcast a week.
Yeah.
Like, increase the amount of podcasts you're doing. That's why we ended up deciding to have the huddle be 5 days a week because I'm like, we have enough content for it. And things change so fast inside of the world of search.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going to come out tomorrow. I mean, there's all this stuff with Alexa that's going to be coming out. That's going to change SEO completely for having conversations because I still think Alexa is one of the largest smart speakers on the market.
I don't know. I was going to say I don't know about that, but that sounds confrontational. I actually don't know. I don't have that information. The one thing I will say that is going to be around, I don't know what the format's going to be, whether it's text, video, images, laser beam shooting out of your eyes, whatever it is, it's going to be content, right?
Right.
That is what is going to prevail in the long term, having content being on multiple platforms in multiple formats. And if you're not able to do that, your business, like you might be successful with referrals, but you're not going to be getting, those new people who've never heard of you.
yeah. Well,
But heck, your referrals to also tie into your local SEO and your SEO.
Mm-hmm.
Because what are they going to do? They're going to go try to find you. And if they can't find you or they find something that's close to you, they're going to call that person.
Yep, 100%.
What were you going to say, Dean? Sorry.
I lost my train of thought. I was listening to you. So screw you, buddy. You walked on.
Sorry, Dean.
But I think that the world of, it all comes down to content. It comes down to real content and not just AI generated content. I think that's the real piece. I advise all of our members to start off with a video or to talk to your ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using, but to be able to get your voice heard so then you can convert that whatever problem you just solved into an actual blog post, into social media, and be able to use that inside of your marketing.
It's funny that you say that because we're starting to roll out with our clients. Like we're writing content, right? We're writing two pieces of content, so 2 blog posts a week for all our clients. Like not all of our, like each for all of our clients. And what we're doing is interviewing them, right? So we come up with all the topics, we do all the keyword research, and then we say, tell us a time when you had this problem and like how you solved it, or like whatever that might be. And that, or like if it's a case study or an example, whatever. So we're getting unique information from those clients that we can then take that transcript of that video, of that Zoom recording, whatever, put that in ChatGPT and say, hey, when you are writing this piece of content, obviously there's a lot more to it than that, but when you're writing this piece of content, make sure you're referring to this conversation that we had with so-and-so.
Right.
Yep. I've done that on a couple sites. It works beautifully.
Yeah. It's unique content and it's helpful content. Nobody else can write that.
And I could have never gotten that back in the day for many of my content writers that I had on staff.
No.
Well,
I mean, that's like,
so many people don't understand everybody's industry, everybody's products, what's unique about them. And that's the biggest thing is you get to tell your story, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's absolutely huge. And I think that's changed the way agencies are running. And I find it interesting that you don't like doing web design, because I've got a love-hate relationship with web design.
It's just like, you can only charge so much for small businesses. And like, that's who I'm here to serve, right? Small businesses. And even if I'm like, it's $15,000, $20,000, it's still, I still go over scope every single time, even if it's a simple 5-page website. And I'm like, why?
And it takes a lot of my heart and my soul that goes into it to make that design work.
Right.
Yeah. 100%.
And I can't scale that. I can't say that's my biggest problem with it. And why I have that love-hate relationship is I love doing it to a point, but I can't scale myself in that way. Do you feel that way?
Yes and no. Like, there's certain things that I can do that nobody on my team knows how to do or would understand necessarily how to, build a page in a certain way and why we would do that. But there are people, like, I didn't build my own website. I hired a designer and she fucking killed it. Like, she made, and I'm like, I would hire her every day for like, she has a full-time job, so I can't, but every day for every website, for every client. And like, we would both make a lot of money, but it's hard to find the people who are really, truly good, who aren't doing it for themselves, right? It's the same with an SEO person. How do you find somebody who's really good at SEO to work in your agency? You can't. You have to train them, right?
Right.
You have to train them. And the big thing is, that's why you see a lot of these big agencies. I've went in, I've advised and consulted some of the large boys out there for agencies.
Yeah.
And that's why they go to templates and why all their websites look the same.
Yeah.
Because they can't scale. It's impossible.
We, back in the day, I used to run a publication. I won't get into the whole thing, but we ended up growing it to like 4 million organic visitors a month. Like, no ads, like we had no budget for ads. And we were working with at the time, the largest radio station conglomerate in Canada. And they want to like post our content on their websites and share it to their social media, all this kind of stuff. And every single one of their websites was the exact same template, different logos, different color. And I'm like, well, where do you want to put it? And they're like, well, we actually can't do something on all our websites because it's a template and that would involve a lot of work and all this kind of stuff. And it's going to take away from the radio station stuff, whatever. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. That just reminded me of another thing. Dentists. So there are SEO specialists who only work with dentists or therapists or plumbers or contract, whatever it is. If you are one of those people, like in one of those industries, do not work with one of those SEO people. I'm just saying right now.
We were just having a conversation about that, Matt.
Yeah, about unique content. They work for 1,000 different dentists. They put out the same post and they just make a little change. It's not unique content.
Yeah,
we had that whole conversation today.
All the websites look the same. All the content is the same.
The social media is the same. The blogs are the same. Everything's the same.
Yeah, and you know what these companies do? They're like, oh, I got you, 10 backlinks this month from other websites in their network. So it's just like, it's this big web of interconnected websites, which, as we know, search engines don't like, right? Yeah. That's like a private blog network, basically.
And the problem is they're prying on the small business owner that doesn't know any better at that. And that's one of the biggest reasons why we started the huddle and why we started Simply Be Found is there's a lot of things that are out there. I think there's a lot of value to what we do, and then having an SEO person and having the two of them work. But a lot of SEO guys, and I find this really interesting, and it kind of goes into that same concept. There's a lot of SEO companies that the small business guy have. They come in, they see us, and they go, "Oh no, you don't want to work with them." And it's because A, they're fearful of their job, and two, they're really not doing what they're saying they're doing, because obviously you wouldn't be looking for another solution if they were kicking ass at what they said they did.
So this is something interesting, and like I actually built this into like our strategy with SEO. So I guess with SEO with our clients. So I've been doing SEO for a long time, over a decade at this point, and the one complaint I get, or I used to get from every single client who'd come to us, is like, the other agency didn't tell us what they were doing. We don't know what we were paying for. They showed us, keywords and results and, this and that, but like, what actual work did you do? It's like, yeah, we did your SEO for this month. Here's the invoice, like $2,000. And you're like, what did I just pay for? So
Right.
part of our strategy is when we start working with a client, every Monday they get an email update, like very simple, like bare bones, meat and potatoes. Here is what we did last week. Here are the links to the pages that went live or the updates that we made on the website every Monday. And then every month they get a full report, and it's a Looker Studio report. So it's very simple. I don't report on all the data because you don't need all the data.
You don't need all the
You
data.
basically
No.
need impressions and clicks, right? If the impressions are going up, great. That means the clicks are going to be going up. If the clicks aren't going up, that's a CTR problem. I don't need the client to see the click-through rate going down because they're ranking for a ton of keywords. You know what I mean? So
Right. Because it has no value.
it
You're
has
not.
no value.
It's kind of like saying you got this many views on your social media. Great. If you
Yeah.
didn't get any sales from that, it's worthless.
Yeah. I mean, I just did a post yesterday talking about, I need to tell you guys about this tool, by the way. So I did a post about this tool, and the tool is, it's called Watchdog. And it's just like, I think it's watchdog.heytony.ca. And all you do, you go there, you type in your competitor's domain, it scans their site. Every week, it rescans the site and tells you what changed on the website. Right.
Cool.
So you
Oh,
don't have
wow.
to go watch and see if they're doing SEO. It'll tell you their title tag changed from this to this. And you could be like, okay, well, that's clearly the keyword that they're going after, or their pricing updated, or, they made a new landing page that you can't get to except from the sitemap. Right. So I did a post about that tool. I think it got like 500-600 comments of people being like, send me the link. Right. And I have a Instagram automation that sends them the link. And I got 3 sales, right? It's literally, it's not about the amount of engagement or the numbers or the views or anything. Like, it's like, at the end of the day, like, people ask me like, oh, what's your conversion rate? And I'm like, I don't know. I just know how much money I make. If the money goes up, I know what I did was compelling enough. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't need all the metrics. The client doesn't need to see, be buried in data. Why? To make yourself seem smarter? To make it seem like you're doing work?
So there's some stuff out there. So we get asked all the time, okay, do you know which ones, what networks we went to? Do you have a report on that? I'm like, I don't. A lot of these networks don't send anything back saying it's
Yep.
been there or even there. If we had access to your website, which is a tool that we're looking at possibly bringing on
Yeah.
to where we can track, what backlinks are really going and dive into that a little bit deeper. But
Yeah.
a lot of those don't even register right away, and those numbers are so far outdated. It doesn't really show the true things. And I have a really hard time showing data that isn't actual factual data. It's like showing a Google business profile data. Well, I have a hidden address test account that I'm really not supposed to have, but I've got a test account that they've never taken down that I still use to this day.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things to where the address is hidden. But last week it got 1,500 address requests.
Yeah.
I'd really like to know how it got address requests. There's not an address there. But, that's my problem with a lot of the reporting side. So we get a lot of people that go, hey, there's other companies that are saying, oh, they got this many people found them inside of voice, or this many people did that. And I'm like, those are bullshit numbers. We're not tracking that yet.
Yeah.
There's no data that I know of out there. So unless you know of something, I'd love to know that data. But
no.
But Matt, you just made a great point, though. It's not the number of clicks or views or quotes, it's the number of closings you get.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if your closings are where you want them to be, then you're doing the right thing. And it's really hard sometimes.
I have one thing to make a comment to that. Your sales might not go up as a small business owner when you're working with an SEO company. Your sales might not go up. But if your leads go up and you're not closing, then you have another problem.
There you go.
That is the biggest point of contention I have when somebody wants to sign on. They're like, well, how many like leads am I going to get, or how much more money am I going to make? And I go, I can't guarantee that you can sell, anything. Like sell weed to somebody who needs it, who's desperate, to like an addict, right? Like I can't guarantee that you can even do that. So how am I supposed to say, yes, I will make you X amount of dollars more or X amount % more? You can't.
You can't.
Right.
Right.
We get that question all the time. Do you guarantee this? We can't guarantee anything. All we can do is tell you we're going to get more people to come see you.
We're going to give you more opportunities. That's a guarantee we can give you.
So you know what? A lot, like not a lot. Everybody says that. I can't guarantee anything. I say that because really can't. But what I'm working on right now, and I think you guys will find this interesting. I don't know if anybody on the podcast cares about this, but I'm working on a basically a guaranteed traffic increase. If you work with us and pay X amount of dollars, we guarantee, and I don't know the exact number yet, but it'll be 2 or 5 times the amount of traffic you're currently getting. Now, we're not going to take on a website with that package that's already getting 100,000 visitors a month, because that doesn't make sense.
Right.
We're not going to be able to get to 200,000, 500,000 in that short period of time. But for a small business, if they're getting a couple thousand people to the site, getting 10,000 people to your site, in 6 months or a year is going to make a huge difference. That could be a couple $100,000. Right. So I'm working on a guarantee that it's going to be risky on my end, but we're gonna push and try something.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really
you have to let me know how that goes. I did some stuff in my past where I did it to where it was a profit share. I've got a couple clients I still have that with, where if they close enough business that I share it on, that's on my agency side.
That's
and
too much. That's way too much admin. Is it not?
I don't try. So I had a ton of people at once. It was a horrible thing to track, and I got ripped off like crazy.
Yeah.
But I've got a few of them that are still on. They send me a check every month. I just trust them on it and go from there. But that's a whole concept. That's a really hard thing to do. It seems really awesome at the very beginning, and it's a hard one to pull off.
My dream scenario is like in the next 5 years, like I partner with and like own half the company of somebody in like who's a plumber, electrician, HVAC, one of those kind of thing, like services that people need in a recession, in good times, bad times. Your lights are off, you're going to call somebody to come fix it. Your toilet's backed up, you need somebody to come fix that right away. So I'm like, I can partner with somebody, be their entire marketing arm, invest my money, my time, my team, whatever, and just I own half that company or whatever that kind of thing is, and keep doing that, because I know I could get those companies ranking. And if I own half the company, I can say, here's what we're doing. Don't worry, you're not spending any money on this. We're going to optimize this. We're going to run, local retargeting ads. We're going to be fucking everywhere. And there's not anything anybody could do to stop us.
So so I'm not a lawyer. There's a big legal problem to that. So I looked at that. We did some of that with the venture capital group, and then we got into a huge fight over it, because then we had people making bad decisions, and we owned that part of the company, and we got held legally to what they did, and had no idea it was happening because we weren't boots on the ground with them.
Yep.
And that's why we ended up just starting to just buy companies and just running them ourselves and owning 100% of them.
Maybe that's the move. Maybe it's not 50%. You own the company, buy the company, and everybody else works at the company.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Because then you have a management staff that goes in there, which is a whole entire piece. There's a lot of things I've done, and cats I've skinned, I guess would be the way to put it. But Dean hates when I use that analogy. Yeah. There's 100 ways to skin a cat. But
it's not very pretty.
But he still uses that, and I go, people don't like that.
Yeah, it's true.
And I love my cats. But it's what I wouldn't skin my cats. Now that's going to be a short.
Yeah.
That's gonna get PETA all over my ass.
Yeah,
but, it's one of those things to where there's a lot of ways to look at it, and it's a trust factor on SEO. That's why you have to be able to trust the person that's there, and you have to balance it out and know if the amount of leads coming in, the amount of sales that you're getting from those, and the quality. Because you can have 1,000 leads come in the door and chase your ass like no other, and get 5 leads from another source and close, 4 of them and didn't have to chase your ass at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I see that with Home Advisors or Angie's List. I think they're the same company now. But I mean, I see that with contractors all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, they go all over Hell's Creation and they feel like they're so busy from doing it and they're not closing anything from it and they're spending a shit ton of money.
Yep. It's insane. That is a good point though. I did have an accountant back in the day tell me like never like own somebody else's business or part of somebody else's business because you're liable for any debts, any lawsuits, any other shit. I'm like, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I don't want that. I don't have the time to deal with that fucking
I just messed up your retirement plan.
I screw up enough on my own. I don't need somebody else to screw up on my behalf.
Right.
You know?
Oh, 100%.
So, Matt, if anybody wants to find Hey Tony and wants to learn more about you, where would they find that information?
That's a really good question because, we talked about this earlier on in the podcast. Everywhere. You can find me everywhere. Matt Diamante, if you search me there. My handle on most platforms is at heytony.agency or heytonyagency or heytony advertising. And I know this is the opposite of what I tell clients to do. Make sure all your handles match up. I couldn't get them. So I did the next best thing and got a bunch of different ones. I don't know if that's the next best thing, but if you search Matt Diamante on any platform, I will be the person who has the most followers on those platforms, or that will be the real account. Which, by the way, a lot of people out there trying to be me and do like crypto scams, and they get some people, and then those people email me saying like, "Hey, did you like sell me like Bitcoin or crypto or something?" And I'm like, "No, you got scammed. I'm so sorry. Here's one of my courses for free. I can't do it. Like, I can't give you money." Right. But or heytony.ca is my site.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
It. That's all the information.
It's funny you say all that. Yesterday I was on chat with somebody who was looking into our service and he goes, "Oh, never mind. I just signed up. Your partner just called me. I gave him my credit card." And he goes, "Why'd you guys charge me $3,000?
And you're like,
well, for one, we don't call anybody. For two, no, you just got scammed, and I don't know how to help you.
Yeah, call your bank. Jeez,
I can work magic, but I can't work that magic.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why you should always pay with everything with a credit card, because you can call the credit card company and be like, you know what?
Right. Don't use your debit card.
Yeah. Oh no.
There's no chargeback liabilities on that. So I mean,
that's your own money.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's a whole crazy world out there. But thank you for coming and joining us, stay on side of the podcast and kind of going through on the huddle and talking about it. I think SEO, I mean, it's a very confusing thing to a lot of businesses, and it doesn't need to be. 100%. So I'm excited to go check out your tools.
Yeah. Let me know when you guys do, and I'll make sure to give you free access.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony.
Cheers.
Thanks, Tony. Hey, Matt. Or thanks, Matt. I guess. Yeah. So why'd you go Tony, but your name is Matt? Why didn't you go? Hey, Matt?
Here we go. No, I tell this story like every single day because my business is named Hey Tony. I'm Matt. So years ago, when I was trying to come up with a name for my business, I didn't want it to be something that was, Matt Digital or Diamante Marketing or something, something involving my name or something marketing agency, whatever. So I was racking my brain trying to come up with an idea. And I remember this one instance. I was walking downtown and we walked by this construction site, and these like really big burly construction guys are talking, and I overhear them. And the one guy goes, "Hey, Tony, you always know how to put a smile on my face." And I was like, I just thought, I was like, what a genuine expression of emotion from somebody you would not expect to say that. Like, "Hey man, you just put a smile on my face. You made my day better. You made me happy." That's the kind of transparency and feeling I want to have between myself and anybody the business touches, right? Whether it's people on the team, clients, strangers on the internet, people on a podcast, let's all put smiles on each other's faces.
There you go.
Perfect.
I like that story. Great story.
That's a great way to end it. Thank you so much, Matt. And if you are looking to be able to get yourself found, make sure you check out Matt. Make sure you check out us at simplybefound.com. And thanks for joining us for today. If you made it this far in the podcast, that's pretty awesome. Make sure you like and subscribe.
All right,
awesome. Thanks, guys.